I'll try. Seriously, we're really glad you're here. Thanks for coming out on a Friday afternoon. There's lots of competing uses of your time on a Friday afternoon, and I'm really happy that the honors program in your first weeks of school is up there at the top of the list in the way to dedicate your time. Keep it that way. It'll be good for you. It'll be good for us. We're all going to grow together. Welcome to the UD Honors Program first year kickoff. We've got a program prepared for you today that we think you'll like, and it involves hearing just a little bit from me. I won't go on too long. Understanding who some of your faculty members are. We've got the pleasure to have quite a number of faculty folks here, and we'll ask them to introduce themselves in just a couple of minutes. To hear from your Munson Fellows in a very organized way. I know you're deeply familiar with at least one Munson Fellow, and you'll have the chance to see them all work together and put their own work product right here on the stage for you. So I get just a couple of minutes before we jump into all that as the old guy to think through, gee, if I've got a room full of folks who are ready to go on a high-level, intense college career, what do I have to say to them? And I've got a couple of things. Won't go on too long. But you've been welcomed a lot. I just did it again. You've been oriented a lot. Maybe those things are starting to become a little less frequent. You're in the second week of classes now. The homework's maybe starting to look more serious. I heard that from a few people beforehand. I heard from some other folks that they're ready for it to look serious, and I love that attitude. Older folks in my life sometimes tended to say, I remember when I did that. Right? I remember when I was starting out. I have those vague old memories too. I have actually a new memory of that situation. I can sympathize, empathize just maybe a little bit more than I could have a year ago with what you've been doing, what you are doing right now. About 2 months ago, for the first time in a really long time, I started class as a student. Not a sitting in, take a few comments around the edges sort of student, but someone who was there for a grade and just going to join in the process. I joined a master's course in an area that I don't really know much about, and just kind of thought I'd dive in. At the beginning, I felt like, I got this, right? I teach these things. I can be a student of one of these things. And I showed up for the first day, and we introduced ourselves, and we had a nice lecture, and it wasn't too scary. And we received our first homework assignment at the end. And it was due 2 days later. It had 2 data sets, it had 8 statistical questions, it had results and analyses and write-ups needed for 13 questions, computing and interpretations, technical stuff, and analysis. And the professor said, this is just to give you a feel for where we're starting and to be sure you've got the prerequisites and you're in the right place. And I looked at it and I thought, I don't got it. I don't got it anymore. I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. I honestly don't know how to do this. I've got to drop this course. I've lost some money, but nobody really knows at this point. And I'll only lose the money. I won't be humiliated. And so I mourned that for a little while. And then I thought, well, I could drop the course in 2 days. It's all about the same. I'll give it a try. And so I cleared my calendar for the next couple of days, and I sat down with the homework assignment, and I started working on this stuff. And at the beginning, I really didn't know how to do this stuff. But gradually, over a couple of days, I could do some of it. Right? About 2 late nights later, I had 19 pages worth of write-up, and I had answers to 11 of the 13 questions. The other 13 questions I had neatly typed on my nicely formatted document. You want to turn in a nicely formatted document to your professor? I had typed, I don't know how to do that. And I really didn't. And so I turned it in and I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a try. I'll stay a few more days. I got an 85 on that assignment. The two questions I didn't know how to do, my professor agreed, you don't know how to do those. Over the next few weeks, I learned a lot about the meaning of student experience. I didn't drop the course. It rolled along, a routine developed. There was an assignment for every class meeting, a class meeting every couple of days. I got a little quicker at it. Didn't have to spend 2 days on every assignment, got down to 1 day. I kept getting up early, I kept staying up late. My UD students began to get used to the idea that I was going to be in the office at 11 o'clock at night. They'd come by and say, could I talk to you? And I'd say, well, actually, you can talk to me in a few weeks. I got the idea I could figure this out. Right? It grew on me. I'm not making this up. I truly didn't know how to begin with this when I started. And just diving into it, it grew on me, and I began to be able to. And then I began to feel like I could do more than survive with the questions this man was asking me. I could go a little further. I could check into one of the research articles he mentioned in the questions he asked us. I could bring in another data set. I could explore one of the analyses that he kind of mentioned around the edges in class. I could take it a little further. I began to actually feel proud of what I was turning in. It got to be something that, when I was awake enough to think about it, began to feel like fun. About 4 weeks into the course, my wife asked me, are you having fun? And I thought about it, and I said, yeah, I think so. And she said, you don't look like you're having fun. You look like you're kind of frazzled, and you've got a due date that you're always telling me about that's not far away, and you're not sleeping enough. Are you sure you're having fun? And I thought hard, and I was having fun. That's what I hope for you. I hope that you'll start this and bite off something that's big enough that in the beginning you're saying, I don't got this. And then after a little while, realize that you can grow with it. The point is, in the beginning, you don't know this stuff. After a while, you get to know this stuff. And it's fun just because of the process, as well as because of wherever that product's going to take you in the end. That's what I hope for you. I don't got this, to I'm having fun. The UD Honors Program is a place that's meant to present that opportunity to you. It's an opportunity. It's something you earn as you go along. It's not something it's not a movie. You don't just sit and experience. It doesn't just come to you. Honors students are not passive people. Honors students are the ones who dive in. Look around in the examples you see in your English 110 or your colloquium courses. These are the people that you want to set your own bar against. They're the ones who will be your colleagues in teams here at UD, and who will be your colleague, or will literally be, or people like them will be your colleagues in teams when you get into the work world. And they'll be your competitors for graduate school slots and in the labor market. I'm an economist, right? I know there's some competition out there. Set your bar where you want it to be in an area you may care about, but how high it is, set it according to the people you see around you. You're here because you're people who are worthy of being each other's colleagues. Use the opportunity that way. UD Honors students are people who I see come into my office for advising with a plan. Look to get a plan. If you've got a plan now, great, that's a starting place. If you don't have a plan now, work on getting a plan. Let me talk for a minute about that planning process, because it's one of the things that you hear a lot from old people talking about college, right? Be organized about it, know where you're going, and it makes folks worry at the beginning, especially when they're thinking there's so many things I might do and I like them all. I'm still feeling like I like them all. I'm a financial economist. That course I talked about this summer was called Geographic Information Systems. It's only slightly connected with what I was originally trained in. I happen to remember a story, and I want to read you just a little bit of it, about a college student who was thinking about a plan. Thought he had a plan, in fact. It's a Naval Academy cadet in the 1950s. Here's what he later wrote. I had applied for a job in the nuclear submarine program. Admiral Rickover was interviewing me for the job. He let me choose any topic I wanted to discuss. Very carefully, I chose the things I thought I knew about the most. Listen to the list. Current events, seamanship, maybe not so surprising so far, music, literature, gunnery, not so surprising again. Right? Does this guy have a plan? Right? He's applying for a nuclear submarine job, and he's saying the things I know about the most, they're all over the place. It turned out he didn't have only one plan, he had a bunch of plans. He ended up spending time in farming, he ended up spending time in business, he ended up spending time in politics, in philanthropy. This is your chance to develop a lot of plans. I hope you'll take that chance. You'll do that partly by taking classes in areas that you might not have expected. Reach out there for the unexpected things. Sometimes when the schedule setup doesn't look exactly the way you would have expected, that's your chance to do something that's going to lead to your new plan. The student went on to say, the Admiral asked me questions of increasing difficulty. In each instance, he proved I knew relatively little about the subject I had chosen. Finally, he asked, how did you stand in your class at the Naval Academy? Well, I was quite proud of that. I answered, sir, I stood 59th in a class of 820. I waited for congratulations. They never came. He asked instead, did you do your best? I started to say, yes, sir. But then I remembered who this was, and I remembered several of the many times I could have learned more. I gulped, and I said, sir, I didn't always do my best. He looked at me for a long time. He turned his chair around to end the interview, and he asked one final question. Why not? Why not's a hard question to answer down the road. Why not's an easy question to answer right now. If you can't think of why not, then the answer is, why not? Try this now. Put that plan together. Who's the naval cadet? Jimmy Carter's the naval cadet, right? A man who eventually had a plan to become President of the United States for 2 terms. Plan didn't turn out, right? So instead, philanthropy, help with mental illness across the world, help with eradicating endemic diseases across the world, help with elections across the world, Habitat for Humanity that lots of you are working in, right? He got a lot of plans. That's what I wish for you. Go look for your plans. Okay, enough advice from the old person. Okay. Sarah, who has to keep the clock here, is saying quite enough advice from the old person. We have lots of your faculty members here and would like to give folks a little bit of time to introduce themselves.